you can, try the best you can. The best you can is good enough.
Hello, hello, hello. What ho! Welcome back to another exciting adventure of Piensas de Viejo. I'm your host, Travis Finley. I'm just going to do some sun gazing right now as the sun goes down. It's after 7 o'clock, so it's low on the horizon, and I can stare at it without any ocular threat. So another development has happened, and I'm just going to put it out there. Just had a massive argument with my son this afternoon. And it felt like I was back in my marriage arguing with my ex-wife. And one of the things that he said to me was, you know, you better be paying attention because you're hearing this stuff again. You know, if you don't learn from this, then, you know, you're missing out on this experience. And so I thought, like, am I supposed to be learning that I'm really an argumentative person who just likes to argue with people and be right? Because that was my ex-wife's critique of me. So now I have my ex-wife and my son both saying the same thing. Now, all of this to say that in the backstory, there have been times when, my son and I have had discussions where I've had to correct him. He doesn't see it right away. And then he comes back and says, hey, I'm sorry, you're right. You know, I was wrong. Or it came up in one thing, even I didn't even bring it up, right? Like if I liked to argue, I would do it a whole lot more than I do. But my point is that there was one thing where he lost his temper at me and blamed me for something. And I let it go because I knew that saying something wasn't going to be productive. And I'm not sure why I didn't hold my tongue today, but I didn't. But we were playing the game of cribbage, and he misremembered something that I said, or the order of saying it, or something like that. But it was a mistake of his memory. And he completely just lashed out at me and just tore me a hole because of his misconception. And I'm sitting there thinking, this guy is tearing me a hole and he's incorrect. But I knew that I couldn't say anything at that time. And then weeks later, we're playing cribbage again, and that rule comes up, and he starts to apply the rule, and he looks at me and he goes, oh, wait a minute. And I knew exactly what was happening because I was watching it and I knew it too. He goes, that whole thing, those couple weeks ago, he goes, that was my fault. And I'm like, yep, it was. And we moved on because I'm not a dick, you know? But my point is like, okay, I need to be wise. I need to be open to the fact that he could be correct. He could be, even though he's speaking to me out of anger and really hostile emotions, he could be correct. So I had to slow down and take a step back. So the punchline, I guess, that I want to get to in this exchange, or this piensas, this episode, is I mean, I would have had to have recorded, like I thought halfway through the argument, oh my God, I'm not recording this. Like I should be recording this. Like I want to actually go back and listen to this again, because this is like he's hanging himself. Like if you listened to the argument, so that's what I did with the previous episode. If you remember, right? I put a previous episode out where my son had an argument. He started an argument with me by saying that I was starting an argument with him, which is a gaslighting, passive-aggressive move. Well, that's exactly what happened today again, in my opinion, okay? Now, I can't produce the recording for you because there's no way I could have started recording it without him knowing it, and that would have completely just not been good. But part of my point is that I got to the point today of realizing like I still don't know what he wants, because every time I do what he says, he moves the goalpost. You know, the Bulls go where the Bulls go. Okay, well, I think I know what that means, so I'm going to put the Bulls away where, I'm going to match the Bulls. Match. Okay? And then he comes and says, well, you're not putting the Bulls without lids where the Bulls without lids go, and blah, blah, blah. So now that's a little more specific, right? Okay, so then I'm going to start doing that. And then he brings up another thing, and then another thing. But then in his mind, he's classifying all of those four things as one genre. And that is just cleaning up the kitchen. So he'll say, I've had to talk to you 5 times about cleaning up the kitchen. I'd be like, no. You've only had to talk to me about cleaning up the kitchen 1 time. The first time was about putting the bowls away in the right places. The second time was about putting the right bowls in the right places where the bowls go, right? That's not the same category. You're not speaking to me about the same thing every single time. But in his mind, it was, which is what my ex would do in her mind. In her mind, she would be saying what she thinks is what she wants to say. And then when I would, this is not going,